Alright, let's talk about the rear delt. Along with the rotator cuff, the rear delts are probably some of the most underloved and undertrained muscles, as far as I can tell, when it comes to people's general workout programs. And I've got a problem with that. I've only seen it been taken seriously probably under two circumstances. One is if you're looking for a bolder, rounder, and more fuller shoulder, or if you got injured and you went to the doctor and the doctor or the physiotherapist recommended you give it more attention. That's not enough. In my opinion, the rotator cuff along with your rear delt. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to be talking too much about rotator cuff, even though they work together. So your rear delt is probably one of the most important muscles in stabilizing and strengthening your shoulder girdle. It's the one that lets you push those heavy weights. Just think of the sheer number of internal rotation bias movements we have in our day-to-day lives, whether it be in the gym or just living our lives. When it comes to gym, we have the bench press, different forms of bench press, the dumbbell bench presses, then we've got the flies, different variations of flies, then you've got your military presses, different variations of that, you've got your front delt raise, you've got your side delt raise. And when it comes to day-to-day life, we're so used to sitting in front of computers and we hunch over. We sit on sofas for the most of the day or some kind of a chair or something. And to compensate for all of this, how many exercises do we include in a program, if at all, for the rear delt and the rotator cuff? Maybe one, maybe two. And that's not gonna cut it. It's always an afterthought for most of us. We only do it if we're in the mood, if we feel like it, and we have the energy for it. Guess which exercise gets left off if you don't have time for that day's workout program? It's a rear delt with a rotator cuff. There are many exercises out there to train your rear delts. Let's talk about the 4 exercises that I regularly use in my program to train the rear delts. So the first 2 exercises we're going to be talking about are isolation based, and for that reason I don't include them very often into my workout program. And if I feel like I want to concentrate a little bit more on the aesthetics, or if I feel like I have inadequate amount of mind-muscle connection when it comes to my rear delt, yes, I will sparingly include these isolation exercises within my workout program. Now, the exercises I'm going to be showing you guys for the isolation are just a couple of exercises that I've grown to prefer over time. But there are a number of rear delt exercises that you guys can find on YouTube or articles, and you can include them into your workout program if you don't like the ones that I'm suggesting right now. All right, the first exercise, it's pretty simple. You just take an appropriate weight. This can be done either with dumbbells or with a cable machine. So it doesn't really matter what you have access to. So imagine doing a shrug. For a shrug, you want to pull your traps up. But in this, I want you to push your traps down and lock it in place. The thing that I want you to be pulling up and bending is your elbow. And you should be able to feel an insane amount of contraction in your rear delt when you do this move. So here again, you push your traps down and just pull your elbow and you stay there for a sec. Come back down. Again, pull, stay there for a second, come back down. Again, pull, stay there for a second, and come back down. The next exercise, which is exercise number 2, is also an isolation exercise like I mentioned. This is something I learned from Jeremy Ethier's YouTube channel. He's another great fitness YouTuber, so you guys should check it out. And if I can find the video, I'll link it down below for you guys to check it out. So you can see the whole video and him explaining the whole reason he likes this exercise. Now, I don't know exactly what he calls in the video because I don't know if I'll be able to find the video. It's very similar to a dumbbell row for your back, so I'm just gonna call it rear delt dumbbell rows. For this, it's very similar to, like I said, like a single arm dumbbell row. So you place yourself the same as you would if you're doing a single arm dumbbell row. Your lumbar spine straight, you don't want any flexion here, and you want to have a stable position throughout the move. And the difference between the single arm dumbbell row and this is, for single arm dumbbell row for your back, what you'd end up doing is you would bend your elbow and form a C shape to activate your back. The difference here is I want you to either have a straight arm, or like I prefer, a little bit bend in your arm, but maintain this bend or straight throughout the range of motion for all the reps, but as much as you can. And then I still want you to do a C shape, but this time imagine you want to take the weight and you want to put it in your pocket. So without any weight, it looks something like this. Now with the weight, The next exercise we're going to be talking about, the third one, is a complex move. Right, few things to be mindful of here. One of the first things is your head. So a lot of people will compensate for the range of motion when they don't have the strength by pushing their head forward, or a gooseneck. Don't do it. It's just fake and you're not going to get anything out of it. So what I mean by that, so you'd see a lot of people, because they want to have fake range of motion, you'd push this way and you'd try to touch, because you'd see physical trainers or PTs ask you to touch your the rope to your forehead. Don't do that. You're just cheating yourself of real gains. The next thing is internal rotation. See a lot of people doing this. Now, although this is still working on your rear delt, the reason I'm doing this is to actively get away from internal rotation and motivate external rotation. So if I keep practicing bad patterns while working on it, it's eventually going to seep into my actual workouts as well. So you want to actively always look to externally rotate as much as possible, not internally rotate. Because yeah, it might help you a little bit, but again, we're trying to get away from that bad pattern of internal rotation. We do enough of it as it is. The other thing is, the more you form a W in an external rotation, the more you're going to feel it in your rear delts and have an effect on the rear delts, just because of the way it gets activated and the way it contracts. So that's move number 3. By far my second favorite, if done right. Now, before we move on to the final exercise for this video, which is by far my favorite exercise, let me know in the comments down below. What are the exercises you guys use in your workout program when it comes to the rear delts? Do you prefer complex like I do, or do you prefer more isolation-based exercises? I'd love to read your comments, and let's all grow together. The last and final exercise that I absolutely love. I can't recommend this exercise enough if you do it right. It's the exercise that I depend on the most, and this is the exercise I've been including in my program the most, as much as I can, whenever possible. And it's got a very similar pattern to the banded face pull. So it's face pull, but the difference is we're going to be doing it on the rings. Now, if you don't have rings, you could use something called monkey bars. They're similar. They just have like TRX, which is made out of metal. So TRX works as well. Any suspended grip device, such as rings or the TRX, should work. If you don't have these, the bands are absolutely fine. They're fantastic. But if you do, I cannot recommend this enough. So the difference is, in the band, you're pulling the band towards you. Here, you're pulling yourself towards the ring. Now, the reason I love this the most is because it has insane amount of carryover, especially when you work on stability, towards your strength and calisthenics, especially for me, for the goals that I want. So you've got to be absolutely focused to keep your body stable, and it demands a lot from your body. And this is what I'm looking for in a complex move, because when I'm doing calisthenics or strength, I can't think about every single thing. They've got to work seamlessly together and support me when required. This gives me that. Now again, just like the bands, the same rules apply. Don't try to gooseneck with your neck forward to fake range of motion or your strength. Don't try to internally rotate. Actively try to externally rotate and maintain that external rotation throughout the movement. The more W you go, the more impact you're gonna have on your rear delts. It's the top exercise that I go to, and it's all because it just demands so much from your body to remain in focus, to remain stable, which carries over so much when I'm doing my big lifts or when I'm doing calisthenics, because I don't have the time within the move to think about each and every single muscle I need to activate. They all need to work together seamlessly, and this helps me out a lot. If you don't have this, obviously you can do the bands, there's nothing wrong with them, but this is the exercise that I always use. Now, you guys probably noticed that throughout all the exercises that I was showing you guys, I never really got into the rep range, the volume, or the time under tension / tempo. And that's because those heavily depend on your goals and what you're trying to achieve with the rear delts. For example, I had the strength to pull heavy weight, but the thing that I was really lacking, and there's a massive difference, was the fact that those muscles were not stable enough. What does that mean? They could carry a large amount of weight, but they couldn't hold that weight in a contracted state for a duration of time. Remember, strength is the force and the power your muscle can generate by contracting while on load. Stability is the ability of that said muscle, to stay in that contracted position for a set amount of time over a particular amount of load. So I chose the stability route because that was what was lacking for me. So for the rear delt, for example, when you're doing your face pulls, I'd go to the extreme position of the face pull, which would be the end range, and I'll hold there for 6 seconds and I'll come back to start position. It's just training that muscle to stay under load for longer duration of time. And that's what I need. So take the exercises for what it is, just options for you, and choose wisely, and then decide, depending on your goal or what you want to achieve with your training, choose a rep range, your volume, your time under tension, etc. Now, if you're still on the fence about training or taking your rotator cuff or your rear delts more seriously, well, let me leave you with this. We're all only as strong as our weakest link. I get it. I completely understand. The other muscles are much more flashier. They're much more exciting to work on. They're less annoying because you can lift bigger weight. You can show off your numbers way more and you look better. But all of that is for nothing if you don't have a strong foundation. How can you push heavy weight if you're pushing off a very wobbly and unstable platform? That's what your shoulder girdle, aka your rotator cuff, and your rear delts are. Let's say by some miracle, you're lifting impressive amount of weights when it comes to your military press, your bench press, and all sorts of internal rotation bias exercises. That's all the more reason for you to take your rotator cuff seriously if you aren't and you're lifting heavy weight, because just imagine the sheer amount of potential you're leaving off the table because you're not taking those foundational muscles more seriously than you should be. So what does it mean? All of us, whether we're training for strength, hypertrophy, just regular people doing regular things in a day-to-day life, we all need to take our shoulder girdle way more seriously than we do. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope this was helpful, at least a little bit. And if it was, please leave the thumbs up. And I know it's a brand new channel, but please hit the subscribe button because that would mean a lot to me. And I'd love to see you guys in the next one. Yeah, I don't have an outro. Take your goddamn rear delt seriously. It's high time we all do it.